Heather Mills. Here you are again in New York, but it's really your home too. You're visiting from London.
I love New York. In the last year I haven't been here a lot because I've been downhill race skiing. It's such a great vibe.
There's a lot of reasons for you to be here too, because there's a lot of vegans here.
I had a meeting last night because I'm on the board of the New York Coalition for Healthy School Foods, and I was sitting in Candle 79, which is such an amazing restaurant, talking about how far it's come, and these high-profile people, Steve Wynn, and powerful people are realizing, unfortunately, usually when they gain too much weight or become ill, then they suddenly really get interested in veganism, and it should be used as a preventative and a lifestyle and a way that you can really feel good about yourself.
An illness or an accident is what put you into the mindset of thinking about how you were eating.
17 years ago I lost my leg to a police motorcycle accident. It was kind of weird because I'd worked on the front line in the former Yugoslavia and not a scratch, and then lose my leg crossing the street, and my leg wouldn't heal. The infection just kept growing through the leg and they kept chopping it off more and more. And my girlfriend said, "Oh, you got to go vegan, you'll cure yourself." And I was like, "Vegan schmegan? What on earth is that? That's crazy." But she cured herself of breast cancer, so I listened to her and I followed a raw vegan food diet, which was pretty extreme, going from full-on carnivore, fish eating, everything eating woman. And I believe the myth, like everyone else, where you get your protein from, and your bones are going to fall apart from lack of calcium, and all these myths put out there by the meat and dairy industry. And literally within 10 days my leg closed and healed on a vegan diet, and it was just phenomenal. And with my life now, I'm downhill race skiing, and they've done all these tests on me of why my body lactic acid doesn't change when I'm training for 2-3 hours. I don't get any leg soreness, I don't get anything, and all I can think is, unless I'm an alien, it's down to being vegan.
You came from London to Florida, I think it was, to learn that.
My girlfriend cured herself of breast cancer in West Palm Beach at Hippocrates, and I just thought, okay, I'll try it. I didn't want to lose my knee, and the infection was going further and further up my leg, so I went there and they put wheatgrass juice in every orifice I've got, which I didn't like the taste of it. Some people do, but it worked, and I learned about juicing and green drinks and really raw food and the nutrition behind it. And then I started to study nutrition and really understand what was going on. My energy levels changed. I didn't have that 2 o'clock dip that we all take for granted in the afternoon, and I was just needing 4 or 5 hours sleep, and I was just full of energy all the time, and I loved it. I still like indulgent vegan food. You know, I'm not perfect, but I would follow completely raw once I got well, and I still like to have my cakes and my cupcakes and my muffins, and real chocolate is, Belgian chocolate is vegan anyways. I love to have just great food.
I know that you have a restaurant in England, and you have a cookbook out, Love Bites, and you have a food company producing Redwood foods that are meat analogs. People constantly ask, well, what do you eat? Or, I'd like to be vegan, but I'm not quite sure what I should do. What do you tell somebody that is entertaining the idea?
Having a vegan lifestyle is very much about educating yourself and walking through the supermarket and asking where the veggie vegan corner is, be it the freezer or you know, the deli or whatever. And for me, and it's been proven time and time again, we've had chefs like Jamie Oliver that have tried to get people from, you know, meat and dairy straight to broccoli, and unless you're ill and you're sick, it's very difficult to have the motivation to stick to really pure foods. So I wanted to create meatless meats, and I had this idea 12 years ago that I would just replicate all the fast food places, and then you want a burger, there's a burger, but it was plant-based, so it was better for you, better for the animals, and better for the environment. Obviously raw, there's nothing better, but what it meant was that people found it really easy, and I set up a charity donation to the Hunts Point Alliance for Children and started feeding 3,000 families a week nearly 3 years ago. And obesity has gone down, type 2 diabetes has gone, brain function's gone up by 42%, and the kids eat for free. They only ever got 99 cents, of course they went to McDonald's. their energy's gone up, everything's changed. But what was interesting is the taste buds change, the metabolism changes. So at first you give them a burger for a burger, and then after 2 months you put a bit of lettuce and then a bit of broccoli, and so it was 90v10 veg, and now it's 80% veg and just 20% meat analog, because that's what their body is telling them to eat. So it just makes converting the carnivore easy through the transitional period. And hardcore vegans who eat raw are like really against meat analogues, and they shouldn't be, it's a processed food still. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but it's still far better than eating a steak or a piece of cheese. And if I'm going to try and help on a global scale, you have to replace like for like. I've proven it in so many studies that they then stick to it. Otherwise you take them when they're ill to something, and then as soon as they're better they go off it because they get fed up with vegan food. But myself, I like raw. I like as much raw as I possibly can because I've been vegan for a long time. I still can't give up my cakes, but I learned to make amazing cakes with olive oil and water mixed to create the height and the chemical explosion that's needed for muffins and cupcakes. And now I make soufflés, and every single thing that you love can be replaced like for like. So I opened a restaurant to prove that, and 80% of my customers at V-Bites, which is the name of the restaurant in England, are carnivores. 80% are carnivores. Now we've got the health food stores asking if they can put V-Bites in all the health food stores in England, and it will revolutionise things, but you have to do one step at a time. And I also wanted to know where the product came from, so that's why I bought a factory and started developing meatless meats, and we've got 52 meatless meats now. So now I've just finalised the vegan scrambled egg, I've now done the salmon and the tuna, and we've done an amazing teriyaki vegan duck that we put in a wrap, flaxseed wrap. It's amazing. Everyone that tries it, we handed them out for nothing in Brighton for a Japanese festival at the weekend, and everybody's like, this is the best duck I've ever tasted. And I'm like, because it's not duck and you haven't got all the grease and the fat, and you've just got a much yummier taste and healthier.
And you have a young daughter. I know a lot of mothers, they want to become vegan, but they think about their children.
There's nothing better that she could do for a child in the world, even if she can't do it for herself, than to make a child vegan. There's just no better gift, and it's really easy. And again, because you can replace like for like. My daughter, I basically have a dinner party and I just replicate everything that her kids have. So they want sausage rolls, they want fish fingers, I do everything. So the kids come, they eat the cakes, they eat everything, and they can't believe it, that it tastes the same.
When people are beginning, they might go vegetarian instead of vegan. And of course that means they keep a lot of the dairy products in their diet. What is your best comments to them that maybe some of the rest of us could use?
We all have a weakness to usually either cheese or chocolate. There's one way. You can like both, but there's one way you're really weak to it. The weakness to chocolate is the easiest thing, because most great chocolates are vegan anyway. Anything 70% cocoa and above generally is vegan. The cheese was the more difficult one. We now at Redwood make 7 different cheeses, so it's really easy for people now, especially melting cheeses. If you're going to go vegetarian, just be very aware of your dairy consumption. Try and keep it to a minimal. The milks you can replace easily with oat, quinoa, pea, rice, hazelnut. In my cafe we do hazelnut lattes, we do everything. The difficult area is for the cheeses, the biting cheeses. So use all the vegan cheeses for melting. Try the few that are for biting. Most cheese experts in America, you don't have such a good variety because our Redwood factory is not here. But it's choosing where you're going to be naughty while you're trying to get strong enough and educated enough to go completely vegan. So it's just different steps at a time. But if say you're a pescatarian and you say, okay, I'm now going to go vegetarian, for me, from a health point of view, it would be even worse to completely up your dairy intake and have a huge amount of dairy because you're giving up meat and fish. I think dairy is probably the worst thing you could ever put in your body. So a lot of veggies think that they're healthy, but if their dairy intake is high, it's not good. The biggest myth in the world is that milk, because we were forced to have it since we were kids by the dairy industry marketing group, is that, you know, it gives you calcium, and it doesn't. It leaches the bones of calcium, and that's proven. You know, when Professor Colin Campbell wrote the China study, with that 30-year study, it showed that the areas that had the highest level of osteoporosis, like Finland and places in Europe and America, consumed the most milk. If milk was full of calcium and did give you great bones, then why the areas that don't consume much? You know, why do they have the biggest problems? So,
what are your favorite milk substitutes?
I make my own hazelnut. I do cashew. Just soak it, and then the night before put it through a blender. I generally use a lot of pea protein now in my products because of the myth of soy. I'm actually fine with soy personally, but for the small percentage of people that have a problem with it, and for the myths that are put out there for how it affects estrogen, it does have an effect on estrogen, but it normalizes it. If it's high, it brings it to a normal level. If it's low, it brings it to a normal level. But I like to try and be 3 or 4 steps ahead of the meat and dairy industry, so I've created lots of pea protein products. So, like, how can they say that peas are bad for you? You know, I've tried to work on that. We do vegan chicken that's made from pea, and we do a soy-free, dairy-free cheese. But pea protein's a really high protein.
Yes. Can you be more exact about making one of the milks?
You can't go and buy all sorts of milks from the supermarket, and most people do. But almond and hazelnut milk can be a bit more expensive than your hormone-injected cow's milk, you know. So I basically just get a bag of almonds and I soak them in water overnight, and then the next morning I rinse it out, put them in a blender, blend it up with fresh water, and then pour it through a muslin cloth and use it on my cereal in the morning, or to make myself a nice almond latte.
So do you add any flavoring at all?
I don't. My sister adds agave syrup, but I like it just as it is. Anyone that's not sure about what to do with vegan products, you can literally just Google the question and there's an answer straight away. So it just immediately you go, oh, how can I make a vegan cupcake? And you just put, how do I make a vegan cupcake? And it immediately sends you to a video or to a recipe, and you just follow it. So if you've got a computer, you can get access to everything.
If you were at home right now and was feeling very comfy, cozy, and hungry, and you had absolutely everything in your kitchen you needed in way of ingredients, let me put you on the spot. What would you really want to make?
If I've got a lot of physical work to do, like for my ski training, then generally it's all raw. You know, I'll do like kale rolls with lots of chopped up different vegetables with the tahini sauce, and I'll make up my own mayonnaise and mix it up with some mustard and some balsamic, and you know, if I'm raw. If I don't have to do anything really energetic the next day and it's my day off, then I indulge in a really great big Sunday roast, which is an English typical roast. So I'll roast potatoes. They have to be Maris Piper potatoes, and I'll cover them in rosemary, and then I'll take lots of shallots and I'll place them around it, and then you get that gorgeous oniony taste. And then I usually pull them out at the end and make a big thick gravy that goes over the top with some agave coated parsnips with little sesame seeds on, and then I do some kale, and then I do a cauliflower cheese where I melt all the vegan cheese all over it, and so I pretty much indulge in a big vegan roast that'll be turkey with a sage and onion stuffing in the middle, and then I can't breathe after that. So that's kind of, and then I'll do like a rhubarb crumble, which I was once in France, and there was a Michelin star chef, and every night he kept giving me fruit platter, and I was like, God, I can't believe a Michelin star chef can't create an amazing vegan dish. Why wouldn't he even want to educate himself? If you're Michelin, it's so easy to cook with fat and sugar, all the unhealthy stuff. Of course it's going to taste amazing. So in the end I said, can I just show you how to make like an apple crumble? And he's like, oh, du beurre, and you need the butter and all this. I was like, no. And I just showed him 15 minutes, and then I said, taste it. And he was like, oh. And I said, that means you can literally feed this to somebody who has lactose intolerance. They don't necessarily need to be vegan, but try and expand your culinary skills. It was amazing. I did an event for Farm Sanctuary in New York at Cipriani, and luckily their chefs became good friends. They were really like, what on earth is this vegan stuff? And I showed the pastry chef how she could make vegan croissants and all these things that didn't need to incur butter and milk and all this. And I said, just change it, but don't tell anybody. So that when someone says, do you have anything that's lactose free? And you go, yeah, all our cakes are lactose free. They'll be like, what? So it was quite exciting for her because she was top pastry chef, been doing it for years. And then it opened her eyes to actually try and make things that without milk, without eggs. You know, soufflés without eggs. She didn't think that was possible.
I know you've been skiing.
Yeah, madly so. A year ago I was on a mountain with my girlfriend for 4 days, and the volcano went off in Iceland and the planes weren't flying, so we were stuck on the mountain. There was nowhere to go. It was empty, so I just decided to go straight down with my skis. Someone spotted me and said, do you know you were doing over 100 kilometers an hour on slalom skis? And I was like, really? And then someone else saw me ski the next day and they said, do you want to come and train with us? And it was the Slovenian Masters team. And then I was approached by an Austrian coach who said, you're skiing really great. And then, you know, they were surprised with one leg. And then I went to compete to try and get on the British ski team, and now I'm training for the Paralympics in Sochi in Russia. And I lost my cruciate ligament 15 weeks ago, but after 6 weeks I was skiing, and then smashed my right shoulder into 5 pieces 5 weeks ago. But just tons of physio, and I believe really great vegan nutrition, because they're like, how could you have healed so quickly? And I really believe that, you know, you're putting stuff in your body and helping all the proteins and everything work and heal you.
Do you have a favorite green drink?
I love kale and celery and apple and ginger mixed up.
And do you add a little water?
With the apples, I
apples
just add
enough?
more apples, yeah. It's plenty.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah. And my website is heathermills.org, and we've got loads of links from there with loads of advice to help people in all sorts of areas, from vegan nutrition to disability to charities. And Redwood Whole Foods is my vegan factory, and V-Bites is my restaurant.
Yeah, and you have lots of recipes, I think, on your website too,
Yeah,
don't you?
lots of recipes on the website.
Once again, Heather, thank you, and I wish you were in New York all the time.
Oh, so do I.
Thank you.
There's no mountains here. Thank you.